Hello everyone. This is the final part of getting to know plants, and in this part we are going to talk all about flowers. We all admire the beautiful flowers that are present around us. The huge, vibrant, colorful flowers attract our attention so easily. But you know what? They attract the attention of bees, butterflies and other insects as well. But not all flowers are such colorful and showy. There are some flowers which are very small and not so colorful. But since they are not so colorful, they might have a very beautiful fragrance. So there are many different kinds of flower found in nature. But have you seen a dahlia flower or a marigold flower? This is marigold. But the interesting thing here is that this is not a single flower. Instead, there are several hundreds of flowers clustered together to appear like a single flower. Actually, these small things which appear to be petals, these are not actually petals. These are the individual flowers that are clustered together to form this huge structure. And such flowers, where many small flowers cluster together to appear as a single bloom, are known as compound flowers. You will learn more about them in your higher classes. But now, in this chapter, we are not going to discuss a lot about them. Here, we will mainly be concerned with simple flowers. So, let us see the structure of a flower bud. This is a rose flower bud. Now here we can see that there is a stalk which connects this flower bud to the stem or to the main trunk of the plant. This stem, this branch which connects the flower to the main stem of the plant is known as the pedicel. Above that we have this green structure which is covering the base of the flower bud. This is known as the calyx, and single units of the calyx are known as sepals. This is one sepal, this is another sepal. There are other sepals at the back of the flower bud as well. Then this white portion, these are known as the corolla. And again, the single units of the corolla are known as petals. Now we know that rose flowers produce wide range of flowers with beautiful colors. And you know what? These colors are actually produced by the petals. The petals in most flowers are very colorful. While in other flowers, there may be other parts of the flower which are colorful, but in most flowers, the colorful part is basically the corolla of the flower. Now let us try to study a mature flower. So here we have this flower called Hibiscus rosa sinensis. This is a very common flower. I'm sure you all have seen this. So here you see that the colorful part is actually the petals, or we can say this is the corolla, and the single units are called the petals. And below that we have the green structure which are the sepals, and they join together to form our calyx. Below that we have this again another calyx like structure, green colored. These are known as epicalyx. And below that we have the stalk which connects the plant or the flower to the plant, and that is known as the pedicel. And at the bottom we see other flower buds arising as well. So this is the basic structure of a mature flower. But if we want to study the internal parts of the flower, then we will have to cut open the flower, and this process is known as dissection. So I have already dissected this flower, and I have uploaded a video on that as well on this channel. You can check out the link of that video in the description box below. So this was the final result after our dissection. I will try to explain all these parts to you here as well. So first of all, let's talk about the epicalyx. This was the part that was present below the calyx. Then we had our calyx, which was the green part, and each unit of the calyx is known as the sepal. Then we have also seen the flower bud. Now an interesting thing here is that the flower bud is completely covered by the calyx. So the function of calyx, we can say, is to protect the developing flower bud against environmental stresses. So this is one function of the calyx. Next, we have the colorful bright petals. Here we have 5 petals, and we have seen during dissection that all these petals were free, which means that they were not joined with each other. But the sepals were joined with each other. Here also we can see that each unit of the sepal, they are joined together, right? But the petals were not. The petals were free, but the sepals were joined. Okay, so now let's move further. Here we see the complete flower, and these are the petals that we have discussed about. But what is the structure known as? Let us separate this part from the flower to study this better. Okay, so I have separated this part, and here we have it. We can see there is a tube-like structure, and then there are such minute yellow dots. Actually, these minute yellow dots are known as anthers. And you know what? These are the male reproductive organs of the plant. And this tube, actually, these yellow dots have small stalks which are known as filaments. And these filaments have joined together to form this tube. And you know what? The filaments and the anthers together, they are known as the stamens. So stamens are what? They are simply the male reproductive organs consisting of two parts, the anthers as well as the filaments. So this tube part is known as the staminal column, staminal from the stamens. Since this tube, the staminal column is formed from the filament of the stamen, so we call it a staminal column. Now this staminal column may not be present in all the flowers. In other flowers, you may simply find just the anthers, and the anthers will be connected to the filaments. This staminal column is found only in certain plants, like here in the case of hibiscus. So that was all about androecium. But in this first picture, we see that there are these 5 branch tips. What are these? So in order to understand what those structures are, I have separated this part of the flower from the entire flower so that we can study it better. Now this thin tube-like structure was present inside the staminal column that we have just talked about. And this tip that we see here, branch tip, it was the one that we just saw in the picture. And this part below, which is labeled as ovary, remains present inside the sepals or the calyx. So it can only be visible, it can only be made visible if we dissect the plant or the flower and take out this ovary. So this is a female reproductive structure, or it is known as the gynoecium, where we have the stigma. Then the stigma is connected to this long style, and then the style ends at the ovary, which is a swollen basal part. Now there is a very interesting thing about ovary. You know the fruits that we eat like mango or banana? They are nothing but ripened ovaries. When ovaries mature and they ripe, they form the fruits that we eat. Like in this case we can see this cucumber is actually the ripened ovary. And if we cut open this fruit, then we can see that there are minute seeds present inside the fruit. Actually, these are the ovules that are present inside ovary. Inside our ovary, there are seeds, or there are ovules present. And when the ovary matures to form the fruit, then these seeds convert to form the seeds, which can again give rise to a new plant when it is planted in the soil. Now, these seeds or these ovules may be arranged inside the ovary or inside the fruit in different patterns. We saw a kind of arrangement in cucumber, but here in ladyfinger we see a completely different kind of arrangement. So there are many different kinds of arrangement of ovules possible inside a fruit. Or inside an ovary. Now remember at the beginning of the video when we talked about marigolds, we said that the marigolds are compound flowers where multiple flowers cluster together to appear to be a single bloom. And we said that we are not going to discuss about them in this video because that is the topic for our higher classes. But you know what? The structures that are present in single flowers are also present in compound flowers like these, like marigolds. See, here these yellow structures are actually the anthers, and the stalk-like structure that is connected to the anther are the filaments. So these are the stamens which are visible. We are also having our pistil or the gynoecium somewhere here, and the red parts are actually the petals. The sepals are definitely here if we dissect these compound flowers and observe them carefully. So yes, all flowers have the basic structures, but some flowers only have the stamens or the androecium, while other flowers only have this gynoecium. For example, in pumpkin, we see that some pumpkin flowers will have the gynoecium, while other pumpkin flowers will have androecium. But in most flowers, we find that androecium and gynoecium are both present. So there are different kinds of flowers, different kinds of plants, wide varieties of plants that we talked about, that we discussed about in this video, or rather in this chapter. The world of plants is very interesting, but you can only discover it if you explore the nature. So I hope you have liked this chapter. Thank you and all the best.